Dear students and my teacher friends, Namaskar. I welcome you to the presentation lecture on menstrual cycle. Now, the menstrual cycle is also known as the other name of menstrual cycle is female reproductive cycle. As you can see on the screen, I have written the title, the female reproductive cycle. This one is the female. Now, the duration of menstrual cycle is 24 to 36 days. Now, we need to understand this, the duration, 24 to 36 days. So, when we talk about the woman's reproductive life, so the reproductive life begins at puberty, and the reproductive life ends at menopause. So menopause, so between this time, so puberty is attained at the age of 8 to 13 years. During these years the puberty is attained and menopause is experienced at the age of 45 to 50 years. Now, so during this reproductive life, some menstrual cycle will be having the duration of 24 days, some will be having 29 days, some will be having 32, or some will be having 36. So this is the range, entire range it is written. Okay, but here today the menstrual cycle, we are assuming that menstrual cycle is having, that is a regular menstrual cycle which is having a duration of 28 days. So we can divide this menstrual cycle into 4 phases, and this regular menstrual cycle which is having a duration of 28 days, so this 28 days can be divided into 4 phases. The first phase is the menstrual phase. Second phase is known as the pre-ovulatory phase. The third phase is known as ovulation, and the fourth phase is known as the post-ovulatory phase. So all these phases I am showing you in the diagram. So this one is the diagram. Okay, so this is the menstrual cycle and the days I've written. As you can see, these are all the days from 1 to 28. These are the days I've written, and this is, so today we are going to this phase, menstrual phase. And as you can see, the duration, the first 5 periods, first 5 days are the menstruation. Okay, first 5 days of the menstrual cycle is known as menstruation, or also known as menses. So this is the menstrual phase. Then from 6 to 13 is pre-ovulatory phase. So from 6 to 13 pre-ovulatory phase, and on day 14 ovulation take place. Then from 16 to 28, this time, this duration is known as post ovulatory phase. So the menstrual cycle is divided into 4 phases. Once again, we are we are reaching to this page. Okay, so all the names I've written, so you need to remember this menstrual phase, 1 to 5 days pre-ovulatory, 6 to 13, day 14 ovulation, and 15 to 28 day, that is post ovulatory phase. Now, so today's our topic of discussion is menstrual phase. Now, the other name of menstrual phase is menstruation, menstrual cycle. The first phase of menstrual cycle is known as menstruation, or it is also known as menses. Now, this menses occur for the first 5 days. So 1 to 5 days, the menstrual flow, the blood that comes out from vagina. So during this period, that event is taking place. So first 5 days are known as menstruation or menses. So the day when the menstrual discharge comes out, that day, the day is known as the first day of menstrual cycle, or it is also known as the first day of menstruation. Now, when we are studying the menstrual cycle, so in our mind we are thinking the all the events are taking place in the uterus only. Okay, but it is not like that. When the menstrual cycle is taking place in the endometrium of uterus, there are events which are going on, which are taking place in the ovaries as well. So during this phase, okay, during this first phase, this menstrual phase, simultaneously, which are the events that are taking place in the ovaries that I am explaining you. So as you can see here, one ovary is shown to you, and these are the primordial follicle. So now we know, due to the hormone, due to the effect of hormone FSH, this primordial follicle develops into, these are the primary follicle. Okay, these are the primary follicle. Now, on this primary follicle, FSH is still affecting. So this primary follicle, they are maturing and they are converted into secondary follicle. So primary follicle, then secondary follicle, and finally this Graafian follicle. As you can see, this is the mature follicle over here. This one is the Graafian follicle, and here this Graafian follicle is rupturing and the secondary oocyte is released. Now this process, the release of secondary oocyte, is known as ovulation, and this event is taking place on day 14. But we don't have to misunderstand that this from this primordial to primary, and from secondary from Graafian. So it is not like that in 14 days, this Graafian follicle has developed. For the development, for the conversion of primordial follicle into the secondary follicle and then into Graafian follicle, this entire journey takes several months time. So on day 14, so in other word, we can say on day 14, when this Graafian follicle is collapsing, is rupturing, so that Graafian follicle has developed, okay, in a several month time. That is the meaning of this thing. So these are the events which are taking place in the ovaries. So basically, during this first phase, menstruation or menses phase, these follicles are developing under the effect of FSH. That point we are keeping in mind. Okay, so this is the point. Okay, under the influence of FSH, several primordial follicle develop into primary follicle and then into secondary follicle. This development process may take several months to occur. Okay, so now the important point, the events in the uterus. Okay, now what are the events that are taking place in the first phase. Okay, during menses, what is happening to uterus? So from vagina, the menstrual flow comes out. The blood that comes out from the vagina during menses is known as menstrual flow. Okay, now what is there in this menstrual flow? So the menstrual flow consists of, it is made up of 50 to 150 ml of blood. So the volume of blood which is coming in 5 day time, so that volume is 50 to 150 ml. Then in this discharge, tissue fluid is there, then the mucus is there. Mucus is a, you know, that a sticky watery liquid. Okay, it is very slimy also, so that is known as mucus. Then all the epithelial cell of endometrium, they are shed off. So in other word, we can say the top layer of endometrium is removed. That is the, we know now, we have studied the topic of uterus, so we know the stratum functionalis is slug off. So for example, here the as you can see in the figure, histological changes in the uterine cycle. So this uterus, okay, this uterus, as you can see, this one, okay, this uterus looks very this endometrium, this is the uterus and this is the endometrium, red in color, that I am showing you. Okay, so as you can see, it is very thin. Okay, then this uterus, and this is the endometrium. Okay, so this uterus is of second phase. So this is the second phase, is the proliferative phase. So this is the second, and the third phase. Okay, third phase is a secretive phase. So in the secretive phase, you can see how the endometrium is looking. Okay, so in the first phase during menses, it is very thin. Okay, then in pre-ovulatory, it is developing, and it is completely developed in secretory phase. Okay, so these are the three main phases: menses, proliferative phase, and secretory phase. And this is the position of the uterus. Now we are moving forward. Okay, so now this histological slide, I have, you need to understand which layer is slug off during menses. So here I am showing you. So this one is the myometrium. Okay, this is the myometrium. Here it is written myometrium. So you please go through this. And myometrium, we know it is made up of smooth muscle and smooth muscle. So this is the cross section, and this one is a longitudinal section. Okay, so we know circular and longitudinal arrangement is there for the smooth muscle in myometrium, and myometrium is responsible for the contraction of the uterus. But today we are not going to discuss this myometrium. Today we are interested in these two layers. Okay, so this basalis layer, and above this basalis layer, functional layer is there. So during menses, this layer is removed. Okay, this entire portion is removed. Okay, now, so what is removed? Okay, which are the structures, which are the tissues that are removed? So one thing, this lining epithelium, this lining epithelium. Okay, so in this lining epithelium, we know this columnar cell are there. So this layer is removed. Okay, then this portion, this is lamina propria, and we know lamina propria is a areolar connective tissue. So lamina propria is removed, and here very tiny blood vessels are there, arteries are there, then the arterioles, veins are there. So all this blood vessels, they are rupturing. Okay, so blood will come out, blood clots, and these are the glands, these are the uterine glands. So all this thing, okay, lining epithelium, lamina propria, blood vessel, capillaries, and these uterine glands, all these things, they are removed during the menses. So during menses, the uterus look like this. This is this slide. This is this slide. This is the uterus of proliferative phase, and this uterus, okay, this is the early menstrual phase. As you can read this is the early menstrual phase uterus. So the top layer, okay, the top layer is known as functional layer. So as you can see, okay, so blood in disintegrating uterine glands. So uterine glands are degenerating, okay. Then blood clots in lamina propria. Why blood is clotting? Because the blood capillaries are rupturing. So blood comes out from the capillaries and it is clotting, okay. So all this thing are going to shed, okay. Connective tissue, once again, connective tissue, lamina propria, epithelial cell, the uterine gland, blood vessels, blood capillaries, this entire portion is shaded, okay. It is slug off during the menstrual phase, okay. So this point we have covered. Now the question, why this layer stratum functionalis is shade off, why it is slug off, okay, and why this discharge is occurring, okay, why from the vagina, for 5 days blood is coming out, why this discharge is coming out, what is the reason? So the reason for the discharge is the declining level of progesterone and estrogen. Remember this thing, okay? The level of hormone, progesterone and estrogen decline. And this declining level of estrogen and progesterone in the blood vessels of the endometrium, they stimulate the release of prostaglandin, and this prostaglandin, they are made up of fat, and all our body tissues are capable of producing the prostaglandin whenever there is a requirement. So we can say that there is a decline in the level of estrogen and progesterone, and this decline in the level of estrogen and progesterone, they are stimulating the cells of endometrium to release the prostaglandin, and this prostaglandin, they are affecting the spiral arteries, okay. So the spiral arteries and the arterioles, they are constricted, okay. So I am showing you this. For example, over here, this is the menstrual phase, okay. This one is the 1 to 5. This is the menstrual phase, and as you can see, the level of estrogen and progesterone, it is very low, okay. So it is stimulating, okay. So the endometrial cell, they are secreting, they are producing prostaglandin, and due to the effect of prostaglandin, so over here the prostaglandin is there, and this prostaglandin, they are affecting this spiral arteries, okay. I am zooming that so that you can see clearly. This is the spiral artery, and this spiral artery constrict, so it is constricting, okay, due to the prostaglandin. This one is constricting, okay. Now, so this is the spiral artery, and these are all the arteriole, okay. These are all the arteriole, okay. Now this arteriole, they are in a direct contact with this epithelial cell, okay. Then this arteriole, they are in a contact of lamina propria. So in lamina propria the cells are there, okay. And this arteriole, they are in a contact of this uterine gland. This one, this is the uterine gland. So now uh, uh, we need to understand the function. What is the function of artery? The function of artery is to supply oxygen. But when this spiral artery is constricting, okay, so the diameter, so artery is look like this, okay, but when it is constructing, so it will be like this. So during the constructed period, it is not able to supply oxygen to this epithelial cell and the cells of connective tissue and the cells of uterine gland. So all these cells, epithelial cell, connective tissue cell, and the uterine gland, they are deprived of oxygen, okay. And these cells, all the cells, due to the lack of oxygen, due to the absence of oxygen, these cells are dying, okay. So that is the reason, okay. So here I have written that thing also, okay. So reason why this stratum functionalis is removed, so that point I have explained, okay. So this entire layer, okay, this is the functional layer, so this entire layer is suffering, okay, due to the absence of oxygen, and the cells are dying, the blood capillaries, all this, okay, all these arteries, arterioles, they are collapsing, they are rupturing, and this entire layer is going to slug off during the menses, okay. So here it is written, I have written that point also, why the entire endometrium, that is the stratum functionalis, is slug off, okay. So as you can see here in this figure, you will get the idea, okay. So I am showing, this is the menstrual phase that we are discussing. This is the menstrual phase, okay. Then here you read his name, this is the myometrium, this is the stratum basalis, okay. This one stratum basalis, okay. And this one is the stratum functionalis, this name is written, okay. So stratum, this is the stratum functionalis, okay. So as you can see over here, during the menses, the stratum functionalis is slug off, it is removed, okay. Now during the menses, so since the stratum functionalis is removed, the endometrium is very thin, and this endometrium is now having the thickness of only 2 to 5 millimeter, because only the stratum basalis is removed now, is present now, okay. Stratum functionalis is removed and stratum basalis, so this is the only the this one, this portion, okay. this portion this portion is present, so only this part will remain, okay. And this portion, this entire portion is slug off, so once again. Okay, so as you can see, only stratum basalis is present. Okay, stratum functionalis is removed and the thickness is 2 to 5 mm. Okay, and then in the next phases, the gradually the thickness is increasing, as you can see. Okay, so in the proliferative phase and secretory phase, the thickness of endometrium is increasing. Okay, okay, then finally, so this endometrium, which is slug off, and due to that the discharge is occurring, and now we know what is present in the discharge. So that discharge, that blood is known as menstrual flow, and this menstrual flow passes from the uterine cavity through the cervix and then to vagina, to the exterior. Okay, so once again, the slug of endometrium, okay, in that the dead cells are present, the clotted blood is present. Okay, so all these things, they are removed from uterine cavity through the cervix, then into vagina, and then into exterior. So I am showing you this. This is the menstrual phase 1 to 5, and here you can see, okay, how this endometrium stratum functionalis is slug off, and due to that this blood is coming in the uterine cavity, then it is passing, this is the cervix, it is passing, and here it is coming into the vagina, and from vagina it passes to the uh, exterior of the body. Okay, and with this the topic gets over. Once again, I'm showing you all the slide. Now what you need to do, one by one you need to go through all the slide, okay, all the figures, and you have to, again you have to watch this lecture, and then you make your notes. Okay, all the points I have written over here. So you need what is the sequence, in which sequence the topic you have to prepare for your examination. Okay, so all this thing you have to keep in mind. Okay, and you have to make the notes. Okay, so with this I am completing this topic. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation lecture. My name is Manish Koshti sir. I am from Ahmedabad, India. Bye bye. Namaste.